Imagine walking through one of the wealthiest neighborhoods in the world. The streets are quiet, the homes are beautiful, but not overwhelming. Luxury cars are surprisingly rare. No one seems interested in attracting attention. At first glance, it doesn't look like what we've been taught wealth should look like. For decades, movies have convinced us that being rich means being noticed. The bigger the house, the louder the car, the more recognizable the logo, the more successful you must be. But many families whose wealth has lasted for generations often tell a very different story. Not because they reject luxury, but because they've learned something that many people spend their entire lives chasing. The purpose of wealth isn't attention, it's freedom. Freedom to choose where you live, freedom to spend time with people you love, freedom to walk away from opportunities that don't align with your values. Perhaps that's why genuine wealth often whispers, while insecurity shouts. Today, we're exploring 7 timeless principles commonly associated with families whose wealth has endured across generations. These aren't strict rules that every wealthy family follows. Instead, they're enduring ideas that have appeared again and again whenever wealth has been successfully preserved. And surprisingly, very few of them have anything to do with money. Reputation is more valuable than riches. Imagine 2 business owners. Both receive an offer that promises enormous profits. The first accepts immediately. The numbers look incredible. The second quietly declines. Not because the opportunity isn't profitable, but because it requires compromising the values that built their business in the first place. At first, everyone thinks the first entrepreneur made the smarter decision. Years later, customers still trust the second, employees remain loyal, partners continue recommending them. The first entrepreneur earned quick money. The second earned something far more valuable: trust. There is a reason Warren Buffett famously said, "It takes 20 years to build a reputation and 5 minutes to ruin it." Money can disappear, markets can collapse, businesses can fail, but a respected name opens doors that money alone never can. That's why many long-established families teach children that their family name is something to protect, not simply inherit. Every promise you keep, every decision you make, every person you treat with respect, quietly shapes your reputation. And over time, reputation becomes a form of wealth that compounds just like money. They think beyond their own lifetime. Walk through an old estate, and you'll often find enormous oak trees stretching toward the sky. Someone planted those trees decades ago, perhaps even a century ago. The person who planted them never enjoyed the shade they now provide. They planted them anyway. That simple image explains one of the biggest differences between short-term thinking and generational thinking. Most people ask, "What will make my life better this year?" People focused on lasting wealth often ask, "What will improve my family's future 20 or 30 years from now?" That shift changes everything. Education becomes more important than appearance. Investments become more important than impulse purchases. Relationships become more important than status. Instead of chasing immediate rewards, they quietly build foundations because they understand something powerful. The strongest trees and the strongest legacies both require patience. Privacy has become the ultimate luxury. We live in a world where almost everything is shared: vacations, homes, meals, cars, achievements. Every moment feels like it needs an audience. But imagine 2 families taking exactly the same vacation. The first spends every meal taking photos. Every sunset becomes another social media post. Every experience is filtered through the question, "What will everyone else think?" The second family leaves their phones behind during dinner. They wander unfamiliar streets without a destination. They laugh. They get lost. They create memories that belong only to them. Years later, one family remembers the photographs. The other remembers the feeling. Perhaps that's why many people who value lasting wealth also value privacy. Not because they're secretive, because peace requires boundaries. The fewer people invited into every corner of your life, the fewer expectations you carry, the fewer comparisons you make, the quieter your mind becomes. Privacy isn't about hiding success. It's about protecting happiness. And in a world where attention has become a currency, choosing not to seek it may be one of the greatest luxuries of all. What's fascinating is that these first three principles have almost nothing to do with expensive possessions. They're about protecting things that money struggles to replace: trust, time, peace of mind. But the remaining principles become even more surprising because they explain why many genuinely wealthy people continue learning long after school ends, why confidence rarely announces itself, why quality quietly defeats quantity, and why the ultimate goal of wealth was never money at all. It was freedom. So far, we've talked about reputation, generational thinking, and the quiet power of privacy. None of those things can be purchased overnight. And that's exactly the point. The strongest forms of wealth are almost always built slowly. Which brings us to the fourth principle, perhaps the most powerful investment anyone can make. They invest in knowledge before luxury. Walk into the home of someone who has spent decades building a meaningful life. You might notice something unexpected: shelves filled with books, old journals, art collected over many years, objects with stories attached to them. Nothing feels random. Everything has been chosen with intention. Now imagine two people receiving the same bonus from work. The first immediately upgrades their phone. The second buys a course, attends a conference, and spends the rest investing for the future. A year later, the first owns a newer phone. The second has new skills. 5 years later, one purchase has lost most of its value. The other continues creating opportunities. That's the difference between spending money and investing in yourself. Knowledge compounds. Every book you read changes how you see the world. Every meaningful conversation challenges an assumption. Every new skill quietly expands the opportunities available to you. The remarkable thing about learning is that no market crash can take it away. It travels with you, quietly increasing your value everywhere you go. Perhaps that's why many of the world's most successful people never stop being students, not because they have to, because curiosity keeps them growing. Confidence doesn't need an audience. Think about the most confident person you've ever met. Were they the loudest? Did they constantly remind everyone of their achievements? Probably not. Real confidence rarely announces itself. It doesn't need to. Imagine walking into a meeting. One person dominates every conversation. They mention expensive purchases, important connections, luxury vacations. Every story somehow returns to them. Across the room sits another person. They listen carefully. They ask thoughtful questions. When they finally speak, everyone pays attention. Why? Because confidence built on competence is different from confidence built on attention. One is trying to be noticed. The other is simply comfortable being themselves. Many people associate long-established wealth with this quiet confidence, not because money creates confidence, but because financial security often removes the pressure to perform. When your identity no longer depends on impressing strangers, life becomes remarkably peaceful. They choose quality over quantity. Modern life encourages us to buy more clothes, more gadgets, more furniture, more everything. But many people who think long-term ask a different question. Will this still matter 10 years from now? Imagine buying a handcrafted leather bag. It costs more today, but 10 years later, it still looks beautiful. Now imagine buying a cheaper replacement every year. At first, it feels like you're saving money. Eventually, you realize you've spent more. The same principle applies to far more than material things. Friendships, business partnerships, daily habits, even the way you spend your time. Quality isn't about spending the most, it's about choosing things worth keeping. And perhaps that's one of the quietest forms of wealth, owning fewer things that bring greater value. The greatest luxury has always been freedom. This is where every principle we've discussed comes together. People often assume the purpose of wealth is to buy more, a bigger house, a faster car, a more impressive lifestyle. But what if the real purpose of wealth was never ownership? What if it was freedom? Freedom to spend time with your family, freedom to leave work that no longer fulfills you, freedom to help someone without worrying about your own finances, freedom to say no. Imagine two people with exactly the same income. The first spends nearly everything they earn keeping up appearances. Every raise leads to another payment, a larger home, a newer car, a more expensive lifestyle. The second chooses a different path. They save consistently. They invest patiently. They avoid buying things simply to impress people they'll never meet. From the outside, the first person appears wealthier. From the inside, the second person sleeps better. Years later, the difference becomes impossible to ignore. One has accumulated possessions, the other has accumulated options, and options are what real wealth has always been about, the ability to choose your life instead of reacting to it. Final thoughts. Imagine yourself many years from now, looking back on everything you've accomplished. It's unlikely you'll remember the brand of phone you carried, or the logo on your jacket, or the car parked in your driveway. You'll remember people, conversations, adventures, quiet mornings, the moments when you felt completely present. Perhaps that's why the wealthiest lives are so often the simplest. Not because they lack beauty, but because they've stopped confusing attention with happiness. The 7 principles we've explored today aren't really about old money. They're about timeless wisdom. Protect your reputation. Think beyond yourself. Value privacy. Never stop learning. Build quiet confidence. Choose quality over excess. And above all, protect your freedom. Because the richest person in the room isn't always the one wearing the most expensive watch. Sometimes, it's the person who can walk away from anything that costs them their peace. That's a kind of wealth no market can create, and no recession can take away. If you enjoyed this documentary, consider subscribing for more stories about timeless success, quiet luxury, psychology, and the habits that create lasting wealth. Until next time, remember this: money can buy comfort, money can buy convenience, but the highest form of wealth is waking up every morning knowing your life truly belongs to you.